My name is Toby Ashinde. Welcome back again to our podcast. And today I'm with a very good friend of mine that I met on Facebook.
My name is Nyak Novasi Itwen. I'm a digital marketer. So for now, I'm doing freelance digital marketing, information marketing, e-commerce as in mini importation, and Facebook precisely.
So we had a very, very interesting conversation over Facebook, Facebook Messenger to be precise. And one of the things we were talking about was paid traffic funnels. So using advertising to drive sales for your business, moving people from being a stranger to actually becoming a customer. And one of the things that was there is just the understanding of the fact that when you're using search traffic is different from when you actually pay for the traffic, because search traffic is more or less like these people already are looking for your services, they're looking for your products, they have the money in their pocket, so it's easier for them to, once they find the right person to buy from, they can easily give the money to the person. But when you're using paid traffic, it's very, very important to have a very strong funnel, paid traffic funnel, and so that's what we're going to be discussing about. And so, do you want to throw more light on that?
When it comes to paid traffic, there's a different process. People have to go through a process. It's much like, you can compare it to dating, relationship dating.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you meet someone for the first time, you don't just propose marriage. You have to go through dating, courtship. Okay, first maybe you go for a cup of coffee or something. Then you go to an actual date. Then
I won't like coffee for the first time.
I don't know. I don't know.
Go ahead.
So that's actually how it is online. You try to replicate the same thing. Most people just go for the marriage. You just put up your offer, put up your product, and then just send people to come and hand over more money to you.
So basically, in essence, what you're trying to say is that it takes time for paid traffic to convert. So it's not like magic where you place an advert today and then tomorrow you start seeing people paying you for it as well. So opportunities are there where you can start an advert today, right? And someone pays you today or tomorrow. But majority of the time, what you try to find out is the fact that most of the guys that do that have either known about the brand for a while. So when they see the advert, it's easier for them to to go for the brand because they already trust such brand, right?
Yeah. That's like one of my mentors says, Eben Pagan. He says, test everything. Everything is a test. No matter how experienced you are in marketing, every campaign you run is a test.
Yeah.
Your experience cannot, you can't come to marketing with assumptions. We only use data to make decisions. So when you're marketing online, you should not set unrealistic expectations. You should know that it's a process. You go out there, you see what works, you come back to the drawing board, you make your changes, you go back again, and until you have a proven process that you've tested over time.
So are you trying to say that most of the experts there that's trying to say that they have like a proven system that works and all those things like that, it's not exactly true, because whatever they give you still have to test it and see whether it works or not?
Yes, every circumstance, every situation is different. It works for them, for their own circumstance. You're not selling what they're selling. You don't have their audience. You don't have, so you have to take what they have taught you, and then you now test it. You get your own results, and then you now develop your own proven process based on what you've learned.
Okay, so I think that's interesting, because in truth sense, it's more or less like if something has worked for me, it does not necessarily mean it will work for you, but because there are probably some underlying factors to it, right?
Yes.
But one thing that I see that is very, very common, and I believe that's what we're going to start talking about very soon, is that there's a principle that guides digital marketing, right? So the fact that people won't buy from you online if they don't know you, they don't trust you. And I'm sure there's nobody that is listening to us right now that would buy from somebody without trusting that person, right? And that's the major reasons for you having a funnel, right? So
Yeah.
the way you go about the funnel is what you now need to experiment. It's now what you now need to look at. How does it work and how does it not work? And there are a lot of other things like the kind of offer you're also presenting. So most times, a lot of people might not actually be selling because their offer is not as strong as that to the end user. So then the person does not see a reason to wanting to what they call it to go ahead and what they call it and buy from that person. And so that gives the major foundation of one of the reasons why it's important for one to have like a funnel. So I mean we've been talking about funnel and we mentioned funnel like 100 times. So we might as well just explain what a funnel is. So basically a funnel is the stages that a stranger would have to go through to become a paying customer, which does not happen majority of the time overnight, right? So most people that buy instantly are people that already trust the brand, they know the brand before. But if they haven't done that, then they have to go through series of funnels or series of stages before they actually become a paying customer, right? And that's because they're no longer strangers. And so for you to build a funnel, you're looking at attracting strangers that are most likely going to be interested in what you sell or what you do as a business, and then trying to persuade them to wanting to buy the product. So I mean, one of the things that that caught our interest or my interest and that we're here today was the fact that you were sharing quite a couple of interesting funnels, what you do for majority of your clients, and it's actually driving so much result for them, right? And I think one of the things that also got me interested also was the fact that even though you have these funnels that work, right, you still go ahead to experiment, try to try things out, and try to see which one works and which one does not work, right? And I think that's very, very interesting. So can we just share like a couple of this funnel and then talk about how a business can take strangers into actually becoming paying customers? And I might probably share a bit of our secret as well.
Okay, actually the thing there is, like I said earlier, it's you can compare it to the dating process,
Yeah.
process where you take somebody from a stranger to commitment. When somebody hands over his money to you, that's commitment right there. So now you have to break down the relationship into steps in the journey that takes the person through the journey, and these are the things that make up a funnel. So when it comes to marketing online, there are things you do to warm somebody up. When somebody comes to engages with your content, with your brand for the first time, the person is cold, the person is skeptical, the person is just like, okay, what's this all about? So now you have to take the person, create a step-by-step process that takes the person from being cold to being somebody that is hot and ready to buy, or maybe even a paying customer. So these are the things that we need to consider when it comes to online marketing. So first thing, I think it all starts with the offer, the bait. You have to place something that is enticing to bring the person into your funnel. Yes. Then you now prove your authority, your credibility to the person, because the next question on the person's mind will be like, okay, does this person know what he's talking about? So that's where your content.
Or is this product quality, or is it fake or something like that?
So that's when your content, your blog posts, your sales messages will now clear those doubts. Then from there, the next step is to tell the person to engage, to take the relationship to the next level.
Okay, so I mean, one of the things you said earlier that kind of also was very good was the fact that you spoke about the need of a stranger that does not know your brand before, that gets to know your brand today, to actually be able to make small commitments, right? Either in cash, or either in money or in time, right? And I think that also reinforces the reasons why a funnel is very, very key. And what you've just explained right now is the fact that if you run a paid advertising, for example, it's very good for you to find a way to have a way to beat them first of all. And I believe that's the reason why we go to a lot of e-commerce platform and we see something pop out saying get 10% off your first order and things like that. In fact, one of the funny things I must share is that so I traveled recently, and when I went to a store, they gave me this card, and in the card says, oh, you're a lucky winner, and then get 10% off your next order and things like that. And I found that very, very interesting. Although I didn't buy from them, obviously, because I was just knowing them, and obviously, probably I should have bought, right? And so, but one thing that was interesting was that when we got back, right, and my wife's store in what they call it in Lekki, she made a similar card as well, right? So I tell people also there's no need to reinvent the wheel. You can see what other people are doing and then try to implement it. And so she made the same card as well. And so just this morning when we stopped by the store to ask the sales girl how far and things like that, how are things going, and she mentioned that people bought yesterday as a result of that just that card in itself. So I mean that's part of the experimentation you're talking about, and doing that actually could also eventually speed up the process of converting a stranger, right, into becoming a paying customer. I know what majority of what most e-commerce platforms do, or most products companies that sell products or services do, is that they offer this discount and then they give you reminders. So they set up a series of sequential emails and then they give you reminders on how to set it up. And not just that, I mean we have quite a couple of our students that are implementing such things for different companies and making good money from it as well, and those companies are also doing very well, and that's something that works. You get what I'm saying? That's a process that works. But the only thing that happens there is that for each part of those processes to work, so the kind of email you send, the kind of offer you give, and all those things, you need to experiment each of those stages. And so one thing that you mentioned that you mentioned also that I would like you to kind of like put in a lot of light into it was that for someone like us, right, that sell training services or consulting services or service-based business, you said something that was very, very interesting. You said we should run an advert to our blog posts, right? Do you want to share that yourself? Sorry.
Okay, so it's a very unique kind of funnel actually. Yeah. So if you offer some kind of training, especially if it's high priced, you know, the first step in the funnel should be a content that delivers value.
Yeah, a lot of value upfront.
A lot of value upfront. So what that content does is it's going to like make the person go like, these people know what they are talking about.
Interesting.
So it's supposed to establish authority and credibility. So that blog post, people that consume that, it might even be a video, a short video, content video, people that consume that, you now have a place in their mind. So next time they see your marketing message, they are much more likely to. So it opens them up. They now enter the journey. This journey that is supposed to take them to where you want them to be. It's a very good way to bring people, to attract. And another thing that the content does is it helps to, you know, like pre-qualify, because if your content is on a particular topic and somebody sees that it's only somebody that is actually interested in that that topic that will consume that content.
True.
So that means that a lot of other people will be repelled, which you don't want in your funnel. Okay. So you've succeeded by placing that content. You succeeded to attract only your qualified audience, your qualified customer to come into your funnel.
You've turned the traffic from cold to warm.
Yeah, from cold to warm. So that's it. So then the next thing is to, you know, okay, for example, let's go back to I like using the dating analogy a lot.
Go ahead, that's fine. I use it as well, it's quite interesting that you're using it as well.
So the thing is, you know, the first thing is when you talk to someone, you probably might just be a casual meet. Then that's equivalent to the content. Then the next thing is you probably might ask for the person's phone number, so you can reach out to the person and then you can, okay, let's see where this takes to. So that's where you now ask the person. So it's important for the person to show interest. I'm interested in what you're doing. So that's when you now, you know, get the person's contact details. That's when you do lead generation. So that's the next stage. That's the next stage in the relationship. So you now get the person's phone number, you now get the person's contact details to follow up. So that act of being letting go, you know, submitting his details shows interest. I'm interested in what you're doing. So you want those kind of people in your funnel, take them to the next stage. Then the next stage is, you know, for them to make another higher level of commitment, which is in money or in time. no matter how small the amount, because from marketing gurus, if somebody gives you money, it's 10 times more likely to give you more money.
Definitely.
So you place a small self-liquidating offer to them that is enticing enough to get them to change that relationship from a stranger to change the commitment level. So by giving you money, or you invite them to a training,
Webinar,
So if somebody shows up for that training, it means the person is actually really interested in what you're doing. Then from there you can now move them to the highest level where you really want them to be.
All right, I must say thank you to you because you've opened more doors to my competitors. Anyways, that's fine. I think one of the key things that was really echoed also was the fact that people sacrificing or making that little initial commitment to either drop money to you or invest time, right? Okay, so one of the things, I was listening to a podcast recently, and they said it takes 43 days for someone to averagely convert to become a paying customer, and that kind of really surprised me. So last week Friday I was at a speaking engagement, and I asked majority of the audience that in the last 5 days, right, people that have bought from you, right, how many of them found out about your business that same week, right? And the answer was very surprising. A lot of them said no one. That the people that have bought in the last 5 days were people that have known them or been following them for a while. They might have not bought for them before, but they know them for a while. So when they call in or when they want to buy, they say, oh, I've been following your brand for quite a while, and I think I'm ready to make this purchase right now. So which in some way, it means that statistics is kind of right, that it takes quite a while for someone to actually make that initial investment. And that's because it's a different case when someone is actually looking for something. Oh, I want to buy a shoe. It's a give and take. I'm going to buy that shoe if I see a shoe I like, right? But it's a different thing from, I don't want to buy a shoe, but your shoe is nice and I really would like to buy it. You get what I'm saying? So I'm going to actually have to take a bit of time to actually go ahead to say, I need that shoe, I'll pay for that particular shoe. So I think making that little commitment, I think it's very key. One thing also is that, so you spoke about different types of traffic, the cold, warm, and hot traffic, which is from traffic. The first traffic you drive to your website is the cold traffic. Then when the person engages and comes back, it becomes warm. And then when the person becomes a prime customer, like going to your checkout page to actually make attempt to actually pay you or pays you, it becomes an hot traffic, right? So one thing that is key also in the funnel that you also said is that if, for example, I want to kind of put it in very simple steps, right? I would say that you drive traffic to a landing page, for example, offer something of value, the person converts on that page, goes to another page, probably you can give the person something more affordable to get the person to just make that initial commitment, or you just drive a lot of value to the person and then you sell the main cost to the person. Yeah. Now, in doing all of that, right, there is something underlining in it. You have to engage people. You have to communicate to people, right? One thing I find that is difficult even among salesmen or salesperson people in Nigeria is that they find it difficult to actually get on the phone and talk to people every single day, right? And so the question I want to ask is, do you think when it comes to engaging, so for example like email marketing, for example, which is a form of engaging, do you think it is right for a company to send email every single day, or to send email once a month or twice a month? Or what's your take in that?
Well, so actually it doesn't really matter if you send it once a week or once a day. What I think is, it depends on what you're sending.
Okay, good.
That's if you're making it a pitch fest, come and buy my shoe, come and buy every time, then your audience is going to eventually tune out.
Okay.
So it's not, you can send your emails twice a day,
every
day, but it depends on what you're sending.
Okay. So
you need to know how to mix up your sales message.
Okay.
You know, there's what in marketing, there's what's called pre-selling.
All right.
You're selling without actually selling.
Okay.
You know, like you use events.
Okay.
You craft an email that uses an event, talks about something.
Yeah.
Then you now link it to what you're selling, what you're offering.
Okay, good.
So that's another way of keeping the audience engaged. People love to engage with things. People love to read stories. They love to be people don't know, marketers don't know that when it comes to marketing, you don't have, or you can bring in entertainment too.
True. Because there's another statistics that says that for someone to buy from you, it has to take about 7 different forms of engagement. You get what I'm saying? Before that actual conversions happen. And that's why when a lot of people start businesses, the first people that buy from them are friends and family, right? Before they get strangers and different people that don't know about their business, because those people need to know about who you are or who the business is, engage with the business quite a couple of times before they even decide to say they want to buy from the business, right?
Okay.
And we can take it to a different level to look at the different types of credibilities and the different things that one needs to know. But it all boils down to the fact that there is an amount of time that is required for people to actually grow people's interest in your product, to make them trust you, and to make them to be willing to to give you any amount of money that you might want them to offer. Obviously, there are other things that we mentioned earlier on as well, which is the fact that whoever you're talking to, first of all, must be able to afford what you're selling, right? And then the second thing is that once they're able to afford it, it's now taking it to the next level of you being able to, convince them or persuade them or motivate them to be able to buy your product, which doesn't happen unless there is trust. Right?
Yeah.
So I think we've given so much value this today, and I would just want you to give your last blessing to the audience, to people that are listening to this particular podcast, right? And then we'll call it a day. And I really appreciate you for taking the time to come.
Thank you.
To come on board for this.
2 things that you really have to master: targeting, how to put your offer before people that actually need what you're offering. It's very, very important. No matter how attractive or mouth-watering your offer is, if you place it before the wrong people, nothing will happen. Meanwhile, you can have an offer that is just okay, but because it's before the wrong people, the right people, then sales just go through the roof.
True.
So, and the second thing is crafting an offer. People are selfish. There's nothing you can do about that. People are selfish. They are self-centered. So you have to be able to craft an offer, crafting a mouth-watering offer. Very, very important when you're selling online. Crafting a mouth-watering offer, and a kind of offer that will make people's greed, start boiling. They'll be like, I need to have this, because that offer is crafted specifically for their problem. You speak directly to what they are going through, and then you now link it to the solution. This is what you have to get. If you can master those 2 things online, I believe you have success. I believe you have so much success.
That's quite interesting. So that takes to a different level entirely, the conversation to a different level. To be able to do that very well, right? We do one thing in our course, which is like the customer avatar, where we try to define who exactly your customer is, what their pain is, their desires are, where they want to get to in their life, or what they want to get to in relation to your products and services and things like that. And that gives you clarity to be able to not just only be able to define the right people to target, and even for you to be able to give them the right messaging, which is the 2 things that you've said that is it's most important when it comes to advertising and things like that. There's one thing I was going to say before I forget, was the fact that marketing is actually fluid. So what that means is that you stand an higher chance of converting people when you can move around digital platforms with them. So what that basically means is that if someone finds you on Facebook and it goes in his email and he sees your email, he goes on an article and is reading that article and he sees that article, which is what we call retargeting, right? And all those things. And so if it moves everywhere it goes to, he sees your brand, it builds that trust faster, and it also reduces the amount of time required for conversion. And that's the reasons why a lot of brands today are using retargeting, and they're using different engagement channels to be able to draw people's attention to it. And one of the key to this whole thing also is the fact that the more someone engages with your brand, you get what I'm saying, the more they can't ignore what you have to offer. And that's basically the basics of I think our conversation and the reasons why you need a funnel. So if anybody was to say, oh, I want to build a funnel today, how can I build a funnel? I need to talk to you. How can they reach you?
Okay, my phone number 0706 156 6808. I take that again, 0706 156 6808. That's my phone number.
So if you want to build a funnel, you can always hit him up. But most importantly, like I tell people, is in order not to make mistake in digital marketing, it's good for you to know digital marketing for yourself.
Yeah.
So that when you're working with people like him,
you understand
you
the lingo.
understand the lingo, and it's easy for you to flow.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's also easy for you to understand what exactly you should be looking for from your campaign and to be able to get the right result, right? And also, I mean, you should also check our course out and come and learn practically what digital marketing is, how to do majority of what we're talking about the right way and implement it the right way. And I want to say thank you. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and also share this podcast with your friends, family, and anybody that this might be a blessing to, basically. Thank you.